Did you know that there's an island in the middle of Moreton Bay that is covered in bodies? And to this day, no one knows how many people are actually buried there. Mud Island is situated near the mouth of the Brisbane River in Moreton Bay. It's this wee dot just here. It was used as a graveyard of sorts until 1900. See, the Brisbane River used to be unnavigable during certain tides. This map from 1829 illustrates that there were islands and mudflats at the mouth of the river. Given Mud Island's proximity to the mouth, ships would anchor there and wait till the tide changed. During the 1800s, deadly diseases were absolutely rife, and to make matters worse, these ships were cramped, smelly, and very, very dirty. Now, according to the ABC, it was quite common for around 5 to 10% of people to die on board these ships. Now, if a person was lucky, the ship would be towed to Peel Island, which had a quarantine station which operated from the 1870s to 1910. However, if they were really, really unlucky, there'd be no room at Peel, so they'd have to wait out at Mud Island. So they would have to wait for their sick to either get better or die. If they died on a high tide, then they'd be buried on the mainland. But if they died on a low tide, then guess where they'd be buried? Yep, that's right, on Mud Island. Now, whilst we may not have actual numbers for this place, what we do have are a few newspaper clippings, and the key word here is few, that come from that time. From our very limited records, we know that the first recorded burial was that of an unnamed child who died of whooping cough in 1863. We also know that a great number of South Sea Islanders were buried here as well. But once again, sadly, we are not given a number or names. There is a small assortment of other people who are recorded of dying from either accidents or disease who are buried on this island. Now, like I said, our first recorded burial is in 1863. But here's the rub. The Moreton Bay area became a free settlement in 1842, right? And we know in 1845 there's about 1,000 people living in and around Brisbane. However, when 1891 rolls around, Brisbane's population has increased exponentially, sitting pretty at 93,657 people. According to the same census, Queensland's population was the fastest growing of all the states. Do you see this map? It was created a year before Mud Island stopped being used. Do you see this, and this, and this? These are railway lines that would have been instrumental in ferrying immigrants to their new homes. Whilst these little towns were not growing at the same speed Brisbane was growing, they certainly had marked growth. And this growth was made possible by all the ships bringing new people to live in Queensland. According to this, in 1 year, 35,536 people arrived by sea and rail. And that's in 1 year. But if you were to somehow count the influx of all these massive numbers from 1842 to 1900, then if we extrapolate that 5 to 10% of these died either in transit or out in the bay, then we can easily conclude that the ABC is probably right. Mud Island is absolutely full of coffins. Now, if that fact wasn't horrifying enough, Mud Island used to be bigger back then. On this map from 1829, it clearly shows that there was a large flat in front of the island. But here's the thing, from the 1930s to the 1990s, Mud Island was mined for coral for the production of concrete, and this caused erosion. Furthermore, if we take into account that Mud Island used to be used to bury bodies at low tide, and we also realise that sea levels used to be lower back then, does this mean that some of them might have been dredged up and made into concrete? Now, going back to erosion, in 1988 a fisherman was walking along the shore of Mud Island and he found to his horror a coffin sticking out of the mud. Because the corpse had been exposed to the elements, they couldn't work out how old the body actually was. All they could work out was that the remains were not European, that the person was male, and that they were about 170 centimetres tall and between the ages of 26 and 31. And they thought the person might be part Aboriginal. It was actually treated like a murder. However, most believe that it might have been one of the many South Sea Islanders who were buried here so many years ago. But I'll tell you what, if it was a murder, it's a hell of a place to bury someone. Anyway, if you've learned something new, please like and subscribe and press the bell notification. Cheers! Thanks.